Welcome back to Talk Horse to Me. Today I am exploring the second of David Mellor's 5 domains of animal welfare, the environment domain. In episode 1, I talked about what the 5 domains framework is, where it originated, and how it is now being adopted by all the major horse organisations around the world. It's a big deal. And in the first episode, I covered the foundation domain, nutrition. If you haven't listened to that episode, you'll get more out of the series if you go back now and listen to that one first. So, what is the second domain for horse welfare? It's the environment. This is everything your horse lives within: the air, the space, the ground, the weather, their social world. It shapes their body, their behaviour, and most importantly, their mental state. But what if many of the environments we keep horses in, stables, small paddocks, isolation, are affecting them far more than we realise? I'm so excited to share my knowledge with you because I've spent many years researching and experimenting with the environment my horses live in. So let's start to understand what the environment domain really means and unravel the information together. Professor David Mellor's 5 domains model asks a simple, powerful question. How does the animal experience its life in the environment we ask them to live in? The environment domain in the framework includes everything that surrounds your horse: their pasture, their shelter, their herd, their surfaces, their weather exposure, their air quality, their ability to choose where they stand, rest, graze, and move. It's the physical world their body interacts with every moment of every day. From an evolutionary perspective, horses evolved to roam, graze, sense danger, communicate, and make choices. Yet modern horse management often restricts every one of those natural behaviours. This thought is an uncomfortable one for many to consider because so many people don't have much choice where they keep their horse. But feeling uncomfortable is the start of recognising things that may be affecting what happens when an animal built for migration is kept in a way that is purely convenient or economic for humans. The twist for me when trying to help people is just how profoundly the environment influences the horse's mental state, because it directly affects their stress levels, their freedom to express natural behaviours, and their physical comfort. So, if you've covered the nutritional foundation basics of matching nutrition to grass, hay and haylage, and you are still experiencing problems with your horse, then a massive question everyone who owns a horse should ask is, what if your horse is stressed and sometimes difficult because their environment doesn't allow them to be a horse? I know this could be uncomfortable for some of you who say, I don't have a choice. But hear me out. Stick with the uncomfortable, because knowledge is power. Without it, you can't change anything for the better, and the framework is the science, no matter how much it hurts to hear. So let's start with stables. Traditional stables were created for humans. They weren't created for horses. Inside a stable, movement drops to a few steps. Ventilation is limited. Dust and ammonia irritate airways. Social contact is restricted. Boredom and frustration rise, and the horse loses control over its environment. This leads to lung issues, stiffness, poor hoof condition, and stress behaviours like pacing, dragging teeth along doors, weaving or cribbing. Horses in stables often display increased anxiety and behavioural explosions when they're finally let out. Of course, stabling is sometimes necessary, but its consequences for a horse are real. Along with small individual stables comes the small individual paddock turnout areas. Small paddocks just become outdoor stables. Okay, so they provide a different view and the opportunity to move more, but really they are still limiting movement. They still limit exploration, and usually there's no actual social interaction due to electric fences preventing the ability to touch. Yes, horses can at least stand together, but small individual turnout areas create boredom. They can also become muddy, overgrazed, and the soil compacted, which creates unhealthy grazing, which causes a myriad of health issues. A horse in a small paddock may have turnout time, but this is not welfare time. I live near Chester Zoo in the United Kingdom, and watching how this zoo has transformed the environment domains for all its animals has helped me understand how we horse owners must catch up. There's a powerful lesson we can borrow from modern zoos. Decades ago, zoos realised their animals were not thriving in traditional enclosures. Concrete pens, tiny cages, and barren environments created stress, illness, and very abnormal behaviours. So, zoos changed their approach. They redesigned habitats to be species appropriate, allowing natural behaviour, movement, social contact, and environmental choice. And guess what happened? Animals became healthier, calmer, more behaviourally normal, and mentally resilient. If zoos can transform the lives of lions, primates, and elephants, why is the horse world still keeping a grazing herd animal in isolation or confinement? Horses need the same mindset shift. More movement, less confinement. More social interaction, less isolation. More sensory variety, less monotony. More freedom of choice, fewer rigid routines. More space to behave like horses. We don't need perfect land or unlimited space. We just need to ask, what does this animal need to express its natural behaviours? According to the 5 domains, the environment directly shapes mental state, and zoos have proven all around the world just how great the mental impact of the world the animals live in can be. When a horse lacks space, movement, or company, we may see, in fact I would say we will see, anxiety, reactivity, tension, depression-like withdrawal, frustration, bad behaviour, and that's in inverted commas because that's a human construct. What is bad behaviour? And really, that bad behaviour, that's really unmet needs. These are not training failures and how horses have to be. They are environmental welfare signals. But please don't get depressed if you have a horse on a livery yard, because you can do a lot of simple species appropriate changes which will make a difference. You don't need to rebuild your yard to improve your horse's environment. Small changes and you just being aware will create meaningful welfare gains. So many horse owners accept the status quo and never question traditional horsekeeping. At least you're here questioning traditional horsekeeping. So just having a few things in mind will help you discover a powerful way to improve your horse's world. First, can you encourage movement? Perhaps you could put out hay nets in different locations in the stable or turnout area rather than in just one place. Could you use a hay ball which moves? Could you use temporary fencing to create a simple track? Could you turn out for longer? Could you take the doors off your stables and fence an outdoor area so the horse can choose to be in or out? Can you allow supervised time on varied surfaces like sand areas for rolling, or incorporate an existing track to allow a pathway to a field area? The more you encourage movement, no matter how small, the more this will strengthen body and mind, just like with us. Movement is a health tonic for humans and horses. But not all movement is helpful. An example of this would be horse walkers, which are often used with good intentions, but their welfare implications are rarely questioned. They're most commonly relied upon when horses are stabled for long periods, often while yards are mucked out, and they're used as a substitute for turnout, social contact, or free movement. While a walker does provide physical motion, it removes choice, it removes exploration, and it definitely removes meaningful social interaction. Horses are moved in repetitive circles, usually alone, without the ability to stop, graze, or engage with others. When used in place of natural movement with a field buddy or herd, walkers risk meeting the human need for routine rather than the horse's need for agency, companionship, and emotionally meaningful movement. My own thoughts are to always ask myself, am I providing movement which is species appropriate, or is it a human construct which is one-dimensional and not in the best welfare interests of the horse? Second, can you create social opportunities? If herd life isn't possible, can you allow shared fence lines which are not electrified? Could you pair your horse so they have a buddy they get along with for turnout? Could you stable horses where they can see each other? Could you create a window between stables which can be shut or opened, or just left open so horses can touch each other? Can you get radical and take down the stable walls to create larger areas where two horses can actually live together inside? Horses are intensely social. Social deprivation is a welfare harm and creates anxiety. All the Forageplus horses have friends who they can choose to be with, in or out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Watching them interact is a constant joy because they ooze calmness and happiness. Sometimes they hang out together, sometimes they choose to be on their own, so this leads on to the third area to think about. Can you offer choice and control? If you can offer choice and control, that reduces stress more effectively than anything else. Choice means control. And if you just think about yourself and how you feel when choice is taken away from you, you'll start to walk in the hoof prints of a horse. Can you provide optional shelter? Can you provide varied surfaces, multiple water access points, multiple hay feeding points, or different ways to access hay in nets, loose, in balls, hidden in the hedge? Can you think about providing places where there are different resting spots, different options for accessing grazing cells? I have many different gateway options. I can open just one or open a number to give different choices for entering or leaving the pasture. By letting a horse make environment choices, you will build curiosity, which in turn breaks boredom and builds emotional stability. A fourth area to be aware of how to improve is the microenvironment. When we talk about the microenvironment, we're really talking about the immediate world your horse can't escape from. It's the air they breathe, the surface they stand on, the space around their body, and the lighting and noise they're exposed to every day. It includes things like air quality and ventilation, dust and ammonia levels, whether the ground is hard, wet or unstable underfoot, and how much sensory input they're dealing with. Constant artificial lighting, sudden loud noises, cramped visual spaces, or too much deep mud or a lack of natural variation can all quietly add to physical discomfort and emotional stress. And that's often something we just don't realise. The good news is that improving your horse's microenvironment doesn't require perfect facilities or acres of land. It starts with noticing the small everyday conditions your horse lives in, the things they can't simply walk away from, and making thoughtful adjustments where you can. You should think about improving air quality, because air quality has a much bigger impact on horses than we often appreciate. Small changes can make a real difference. Opening top doors, windows or vents whenever it's safe helps improve airflow and reduce stale air. Try to avoid sweeping or shaking bedding and hay while horses are inside, as this sends dust straight into their breathing space. Choosing low dust bedding and forage can also help, and if dust is an ongoing issue, lightly dampening stable floors can reduce airborne particles. It's also worth regularly cleaning hay feeders and hay bars. I do mine weekly to prevent mould spores building up, and removing wet bedding promptly to reduce ammonia smells. Clean air supports respiratory health and reduces low-grade stress that often goes completely unnoticed. Can you improve the ground and surfaces your horse is exposed to? What your horse stands and moves on matters more than we think. Creating dry standing areas using mats, well-drained surfaces or stone dust can reduce the time horses spend in mud. I've just recently put down Yelka mats, which have totally transformed my top shelter area. I plan to use them in gateways to reduce mud and also, in the future, to create hay station areas. It's such a super product, which I wish I had found 10 years ago. Can you rotate turnout areas so that these areas have at least 3 or even 6 months rest? This helps prevent ground compaction and poaching, which creates unhealthy soil. Unhealthy soil can only grow unhealthy grass, and this grass is often sky high in iron. In stables, flooring should offer some cushioning rather than being hard and unforgiving, and thought should be given to whether horses have dry and comfortable areas to lie down on. Sleep, and particularly REM sleep, is extremely important. Comfortable footing protects hooves, joints and muscles and makes horses more willing to move. Just like us, standing or moving in deep or unstable footing for long periods can put strain on muscles and joints. So avoiding prolonged exposure to heavy mud really matters. Horses are incredibly sensitive to their surroundings, and small sensory stresses can add up. Turning off unnecessary lighting at night and allowing natural light-dark cycles helps support rest and relaxation. Reducing sudden or constant noise from machinery, radios, or busy yard activity near resting areas can lower background stress. Allowing horses to see outside and see other horses creates a more open, reassuring environment. A calmer sensory environment supports emotional stability and helps horses truly relax. The subject of routines is an interesting one. There have been a number of studies indicating that horses should have set routines around feeding and turnout time. What is important to note, however, is the environment within which these studies are carried out is a traditional one. For what it's worth, my experience after 20 years of experimenting with a species-appropriate living environment for my horses is that the more choice and control they have, the less bothered they are about when I feed them or exercise them. After all, if you always have access to friends, forage, and you have the freedom to choose who you're with, where you go, and what you do, why do you need the human I like it that my horses don't need me on the dot of 8 in the morning. I can roll out of bed at 8:30 or even 9:30, and they have moved on to something else less boring to do than hanging around waiting for me. Now, I don't want you to feel in the least bit guilty if you can only make one change for your horse. I want to thank you for listening. It means a lot to me that together we are on the right side of now for horses and understand the importance of a framework for health which truly understands how they feel about where they have to live. It's more powerful than most people ever realise, and the sad truth is many traditional horse environments create stress and are not species appropriate for horses. But if you can move towards recognising the ways in which environments affect horses, then you are a step closer to making small changes which will make a difference to the way your horse interacts and is affected by its living space. Next time, we'll look at the third domain, health, and how managing disease, pain, and physical well-being enhances both environment and mental state. Until then, thank you for being here. If you stayed with me this far, I know you share my passion for ethical and thoughtful horse care. I truly believe that when we talk horse and openly share ideas, experience, and even our mistakes, we create the kind of knowledge that leads to genuinely healthy, resilient, and joyful horses. Horses who will then trust us in the most extraordinary way.
Tino, where's George? Georgie, why are you in? Why are you in the feed room? My word. I'm just wondering whether he wants to play with the hula hoop.